can you tell and do you know if someone is going to be a successful crypto investor just by looking at them? And when I thought to myself, I was like, okay, first of all, that's a little bit of an interesting question, but then I actually started to wonder and say, okay, what are key indicators that I can actually see from seeing my investors and then also just being in this market for over 6 years, building a portfolio myself, and then seeing a lot of individuals unfortunately lose money, a lot of individuals be scared to even get into the market, and then having a lot of our own investors come in and actually see huge returns in this market. I started to think, and what I realized was that the people that come in and they're open to learning, someone that gets on the phone with me and they say, hey, Kaylin, I want to understand more about crypto. I don't fully think it's safe, or I don't think it's maybe something I want to do, but I'd like to just understand a little bit more about it. Right off the bat, I can actually tell that they're going to be a successful investor. Now, if someone gets on a phone call with me and they're like, hey, Kaylin, how's your portfolio doing? I see the whole market is down. And I'm like, we're actually doing pretty good. We're buying up right now. We saw this coming, good stuff. And they say, well, this is just ridiculous. I don't know why anyone would invest in this. And I say, well, have you done any research? Have you been able to look at any education or YouTube videos or yada, yada, yada? And I talk about all those different things, and they say, no, I just know that this is just ridiculous, that, people lose a lot of money and I'd never invest. And I was just seeing where your portfolio is at. Something like that. A lot of people come to me talking about those things and saying certain things like that. And unfortunately, that's the type of investor I know is not going to be successful. So why is this? Why can I tell just off of those two circumstances why someone's going to be successful in investing? Investful, hey, combining the two, that works. And then someone isn't going to be successful. Well, the person that's open to learning, even if they don't understand, because think of these two people, they're in the exact same position. Both don't know much about cryptocurrency, but the person that is willing to learn, they're willing to actually maybe change their mindset. They're willing to understand, okay, let me see what's in this new opportunity. That's the individual that always, always, always 6 months down the road becomes a successful early investor. And then the individual that is over here saying that it's just a fad, it's a scam, there's no way, even though they haven't done the research. And then usually this person is also asking me which crypto is going to go up right now. So it's usually combined with a lot of limiting beliefs about cryptocurrency, which is totally fine. They're very normal and they're very much so just widespread at this time, and that's okay. It's an early market. But they're also combined with essentially a desire to make money faster. So they're saying, so do you know which cryptocurrency is going to do good in the next 2-3 months? And that's just not the question you should ask, because it always tends toward, and I'm not trying to speak any negativity on these people, but it's just a different mindset. And I'd rather speak negativity on the mindset than the person. But that tends towards a greedy mindset. And so someone that's willing to actually take time, come in, learn, and be open-minded, because if you think about innovation is an open-minded thing in general. It's not like we've seen this before and now we're just duplicating it and saying, oh, okay, I understand that real estate has worked in the past. Now I'm going to go invest in real estate. No, innovation is something that we haven't seen before. It starts at ground zero and it has opportunity to go to a higher level, and that's why we're ultimately investing in it. But we haven't seen that higher level before. And so since you haven't seen the higher level before, that means that there's some uncertainty in it. It's new. You have to be open-minded to it. And for example, I mean, when you look back, and you can even look back at, let's say, the internet era. When you look back at the internet era, there were a lot of people out there saying that, what is a website for? Why would I ever want my business online? Why would I ever want to, have a website or a URL, right? I don't need that. Same thing with email. But as the internet came out, as we started to see advancements, now every single business has a website. Every single person has an email. If not one, they have 2 or 3 or more. And so with that being said, no one saw that the internet was going to do what it was going to do besides the people that were open-minded to understanding, why can this be applicable to where I'm at today? Why is this going to be important in the future? And so really it comes down to mindset. At the end of the day, the people that invested in the internet era and they made success from investing early on, let's say in Amazon or in Google, or even in some of these web links, right? And some of these websites, people bought these URLs. And so why were some of these people successful and some not? Well, it ultimately comes down to the mindset. It comes down to someone saying, I can see, I'm open to learning. First, I'm open to learning. I'm open to receiving what a new topic, what a new innovative cycle could look like, not just poo-pooing it right away. That's the number one thing that keeps people out of this market and keeps people from investing in good, innovative assets. And then the second thing is not just being willing to learn, but being willing to really take action on what they're learning even before they've seen that big upside, that big uptick in the internet or in the innovative asset, right? And so with cryptocurrency, it's the same way. When I get that call from the first individual and they don't know anything, they're in the same exact spot as the second individual, but they come to me and they say, hey, look, I'm willing to learn. I want to understand more about this. I want to dig deeper. I'm not sure if I even want to invest yet, but I do want to learn. That's the person that's going to be successful in the future, and they're actually going to implement their learning once they understand, oh wow, this market has a lot for me. This market can do something for me. I've been able to see what backs this market. I've been able to see where this market is going, why these cryptocurrencies are actually useful and why others aren't. Why do I need to invest in specific digital assets, specific cryptocurrencies, not just, the whole market in itself? Those are the people that are going to be successful because they're open-minded to how it can help themselves and how this change, and quite frankly, just how change can actually help individuals in general, and how it's actually changing our world and how it can help our world in general. The other people, they'd rather rely on something very, very certain or something that's been proven before, and they're not open to looking into the future, saying, what is a change I need to be looking for? Because it can seem risky. But the biggest thing I want to say is that risk ultimately reflects opportunity. And when you can start to understand that when you see risk somewhere, that it means there's some sort of opportunity, then you can dive into that risk and you can sniff it out and you can say, okay, is this actually risk, like where I just do not want to take this at all? Or is it risky because not a lot of people are doing it and I just have to learn how to navigate and mitigate the risk? Because on the other side of risk, there's usually very, very great opportunity that most don't expose themselves to because it's disguised as risk up front. So the first person that calls me, and how I can tell someone's going to be successful, and the first person that calls me, they are willing to learn. They're willing to change. They're willing to adopt a new understanding. And unfortunately, the second person, they're not willing to change or adopt a new understanding. They're not super open to saying, is there something that I'm missing here? How can I learn more about this? How can I see if it's actually legit? And then usually they're asking for the 2 or 3 month increase when really it's more long term. Being an early investor is about being early and letting it carry you to the top. And so I just want to encourage anyone out there who you maybe identify as the first investor. Keep going, keep pushing, keep educating yourself. You might still feel confused, you might still feel behind, but you have the first step down. You are already a successful early investor because you have the mindset. You're investing in yourself. You're educating yourself. And if you're the second investor, you're the second person that calls me up on the phone, I would just encourage you to maybe ask yourself, is there something I'm missing here? Should I be learning about this? Should I be open-minded to seeing past just risk? Should I be open-minded to seeing maybe if there's an opportunity here? Because if you do that, you might just see an opportunity that you once thought wasn't possible. And so it's truly about the mindset. This is even what Warren Buffett talks about. He talks about mindset and being able to be logical rather than just emotional. You want to be logical and you always want to be learning, and especially about innovation, because innovation is the asset class that can accelerate your wealth, and it's new money. And current money is essentially like your job, a company that you're having that's pretty consistent, real estate, and then old money is gold and silver. Gold and silver preserve. Current money, your job or real estate, they generate cash flow, and then new money, it accelerates. So the wealthy, they have the mindset that, okay, they want to bring in a cash flow. They want to put some insurance in gold and silver, right? And invest in real assets. But then they also want to put a portion into new money, which is new innovation, AI, crypto, even private equity can be one of them. And this really accelerates their wealth. I mean, just look at what Tony Robbins talks about. He's a very, very successful entrepreneur, philanthropist. You should go look up some of the things he talks about. He says that he's in crazy private equity deals because they're producing, over 30% return APY for him. And these are all innovative investments, and they're all newer investments that, most would think are risky. And that's usually why they reserve them for the wealthy, just to let you know. They reserve them for the wealthy because they think that the wealthy are more educated on money, and that the non-accredited investors, the retail, just the middle class, they don't have any education on money, so they can't invest in these assets. Well, we can change that. You can be the first person. You can be the first person that called me and have the investor mindset that you can actually educate yourself. You can make smart decisions. You can mitigate your risk, and you can actually gain the upside of an innovative asset class. And you can gain the potential of this market because you mitigated your risk, you invested in yourself. So the number one thing is you want to develop a successful early investor mindset. And that's just being willing to invest in yourself, understand, improve your education, continue to invest in your education, and truly be able to bet on yourself. That's what it is. Anyway, we'll see you guys in the next one, and I hope you guys take one of these tips I gave you and are able to really take one step forward in that direction so that you can actually take action in your situation, in your life, and become that successful early investor.